Imagine this. You decide to raise your hand. Right now, in your mind, you feel like you chose to do it. You experience the decision, you think, I decided that. But what if I told you? Your brain made that decision up to 7 seconds before you were even aware of it. What if your free will isn't driving the car, but just sitting in the passenger seat pretending to steer? For centuries, humans have believed in a simple idea. We are conscious agents. We think, we decide, we act. We feel like the authors of our own lives. But neuroscience has quietly dropped a bomb on this belief. Experiments suggest that your brain decides what you're going to do before you consciously know what you're going to do. So the big question is this: if your brain decides before you do, then who is really in control? In the 1980s, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet conducted a now famous experiment. Participants were told to move their finger whenever they felt like it. Completely freely, no planning, no strategy, just an impulse. At the same time, scientists measured their brain activity using EEG sensors. The participants were also watching a clock and had to report the exact moment they became consciously aware of their decision to move. Here's the shocking part. The brain showed a clear signal of preparation for movement, called the readiness potential, about 550 milliseconds before the finger moved. But the participants reported becoming aware of their decision only about 200 milliseconds before movement. In other words, the brain started the action before the person consciously chose to do it. And later studies pushed this even further. Using brain scans, scientists found that they could sometimes predict a person's decision up to 7 seconds before the person felt like they had decided. 7 seconds. That's not a tiny gap. That's your brain deciding your future while your consciousness is still catching up. This suggests something deeply unsettling. Your conscious mind might not be the decision maker. It might just be the narrator. Your brain decides, your consciousness explains. Like a press secretary justifying decisions already made by the president. You experience yourself as choosing, but in reality, the choice may have already happened beneath the surface, in neural processes you have zero access to. You feel like you're driving, but you might just be along for the ride. Think about the last decision you made. Maybe you chose coffee instead of tea. It felt like a conscious choice, right? But what if that decision was already determined by your past experiences, your mood, your biology, your habits, hidden brain processes, even random neural noise? And only after all of that did your consciousness step in and say, I chose this. Your brain acts first, your mind creates a story second. Free will starts to look less like a power and more like a convincing illusion. If this is true, it raises a terrifying question. If your brain makes your decisions before you do, then who are you? Are you your brain? Are you your consciousness? Or are you just the feeling of being in control? Because if your thoughts arise automatically, if your choices emerge from unconscious processes, if even your sense of I decided comes after the fact, then you might be more like a spectator than a pilot, watching your life unfold rather than truly directing it. At this point, many people object, but I can still choose. I can decide to move my arm right now. Sure, try it. You feel like you're choosing. But notice something subtle. Before you consciously decide, there is already an urge, a thought, or an impulse. Where did that come from? You didn't choose to have that thought. It simply appeared in your mind. So even your free choices are built on foundations you didn't choose. You don't decide what you want. You discover what you want. And if you don't control your desires, how free are your decisions really? This isn't just a philosophical puzzle. It changes how we see responsibility, morality, crime, praise, blame, even our own sense of self. If people are driven by brain processes beyond their control, how do we think about punishment? If your actions arise from causes you didn't choose, can you truly deserve credit or blame? At the very least, this perspective invites more compassion. Because if your behavior is shaped by forces you didn't pick, then so is everyone else's. So here's the scary truth. You may not be the master of your mind. Your brain might be running the show, and your consciousness, it might just be the story your brain tells itself after the fact. The illusion isn't that you think. The illusion is that you are the one deciding what to think. And once you see that, free will starts to feel a lot less obvious than you were taught.